Hey, hi, and hello. I'm Troytheartboy, and I'm going to be designing all of the unconfirmed experiments from Lilo and Stitch, the series. Before I get started, I'd like to offer up a bit of backstory behind this project. About a year ago, I was commissioned by Lilo's library over on Instagram to design each and every one of Jumba's experiments that hadn't yet been released. For most of the designs, I had essentially free reign to do whatever it is that my heart desired. Once I've got a solid enough idea and a rough sketch, I shoot over a message to Lilo's library, and then they help me come up with an episode synopsis, as well as they might help me tweak the design a little bit. This project has been so incredibly fun to work on, and I have just fallen in love with so many of the designs that I've come up with, and I cannot wait to share them with you guys. Back in June of 2006, a cinematic masterpiece by the name of Leroy and Stitch was released. The plot was fairly straightforward. After both Lilo and Stitch had successfully rehomed all 628 of Jumba's genetic experiments, the team kind of goes their separate ways. An angry gerbil guy kind of shows up and forces Jumba to create an experiment 629, which is later named Leroy. The baddies round up all the 628-ish experiments, or cousins, if you will, to let's just say purge them from the voter rolls. Fortunately, both Lilo and Stitch's singing was bad enough to, I don't know, I guess give Leroy a seizure, and everyone's saved. Yay! Anyways, at the end of the movie, there's actually a list of each cousin's name, and that is where I come in. Before I even think about starting a drawing, I first have to look up that experiment's name. For this little guy, or girl, experiment 003, she was named Howcome. Something I find really fascinating about Stitch's cousins is that they're actually all split up into different categories. Experiments 0 through 099 were all designed to be household helpers. Experiments designed to make Jumba popcorn or maybe to clean, things like that. They're generally pretty harmless. Experiments 100 through 199 were designed to be civic disturbances, which I'm pretty sure just means be annoying. 200 through 299 are categorized as technological and scientific. Numbers 300 through 399 are psychological. Think of both spooky and phantasmal. 400 through 499 are militaristic. Experiments 500 through 599, which are my personal favorites, those are going to be the elemental manipulators. And lastly, experiment 600 onward, those are going to be your doomsday experiments, sort of like Stitch. Given both the name of the experiment and their number, I can start brainstorming. I'll admit, this design came to me pretty immediately. I knew I wanted to do a small, fluffy creature that just asks a bunch of questions, given their namesake. I think it's kind of fun, but I actually picture Howcome having not one, but two sets of ears, and they kind of swivel a little bit from side to side while she listens. I don't know, I think it's kind of cute, mind your business. Not long after starting, I realized that both their design and their function actually reminded me a bit of another experiment. So experiment 110, or Squeak, they were created to drive people crazy by talking fast. Something clicked, and I turned Howcome into a female counterpart for that original experiment. I can totally picture her listening intently to just every word that Squeak says, and then asking a bunch of follow-up questions. I don't know, I think they're pretty perfect for each other. If I'm being honest, the hardest part of drawing for me is, and I guess has always been, coming up with a color palette. It is so difficult. Not only do I try finding colors that complement each other, but I need to make sure that they're the right tone too. And then I need to try it out with the actual design to make sure that things look cohesive. Something I've noticed while doing my research for this project is that the artists from Lilo and Stitch's series have very specific colors and tones that they use. At first, I made her pink because she's a girl, and I really hated it. I even tried tweaking Squeak's colors a little bit, making Howcome just a lighter version of him, and hated that too. From there, I decided to try something a little different and go with complementary colors instead. Squeak is red, so I tried making Howcome green, and I really liked how she looked both on her own as well as side by side with her male counterpart. Like I said earlier, once I come up with the concept, I send it over to Lilo's library over on Instagram, and they help come up with an episode synopsis. And here's what they came up with. Jumbo first created Howcome to give his nagging wife, now ex-wife, a taste of her own medicine. Unfortunately for him, both Howcome and his ex-wife teamed up to drive the evil scientist crazy. The episode would be named Who, What, Where, When, Why, Howcome, and Squeak. Experiment 003 was activated by a woman named Monique Lay when she and her husband Tony have a disagreement. She left the house through the back door while Tony left through the front. A shutter from the slamming back door caused an experiment pod to fall from the roof and into a bucket of rainwater. With Lilo, Stitch, and the Ohana on a day cruise around Kauai, 2 pods managed to activate simultaneously. With the marriage on the rocks, 2 genetic experiments on the loose, and the gang on the away, will there be any hope, or will 003 and 110 drive the unhappy couple mad? Before I let you guys go, I wanted to show you a couple of my earlier designs for Howcome. Like I said, this character was pretty straightforward for me, but I did play around with her nose a bit. Originally, she had no nose, then she had a tiny pink nose sort of smack down the middle of her face. Then I settled on just your standard run-of-the-mill nose. I'm curious to hear what everyone thinks about the design, and I guess more specifically which iteration of the design you all prefer. And if you enjoyed this video, or honestly, even if you didn't, be sure to like and subscribe. Also, I know I've already mentioned them a lot in this video, but if you have a minute, I really can't recommend enough checking out Lilo's library over on Instagram. A bunch of my other designs are already uploaded there, along with just so much more. Thank you so much for watching.